Let's roll, baby. Welcome in a loaded edition of the Ringer Gambling Show with the East Coast Bias Boys, rocking and rolling, recapping the aftermath of the divisional round, and now Championship Sunday is set. John Jastremski, New York City. Joe Haas in Washington, D.C. Raheem the Dream Palmer survived, made it. He had all sorts of adversity, which we will get to a little bit later on in the show. But you know what? When there's a will, there's a way. And Raheem was never in a million years going to miss the recap of a divisional weekend that was bookended because you had two dud games. You had two thrillers. You had a thriller between, of course, the Rams and the Chicago Bears. Bears, Caleb Williams on fourth down. Rams winning the game in overtime. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we started off divisional weekend, House, with the Buffalo Bills once again losing yet another heartbreaker, yucking up a fourth quarter lead, turning the ball over a ton. I'm doing my New York pod, kind of comparing the careers of Josh Allen and Aaron Judge, which is fair, which is reasonable. That all being said, on Monday morning when I'm getting ready to do this show, my phone is blowing up because Sean McDermott, the longtime coach of the Buffalo Bills, a coach house that, for what it's worth, I have called for on multiple occasions to go and lose his job. This specific year didn't exactly qualify in that regard. I didn't look at Saturday's game and said, hey, it's a direct reflection on Sean McDermott, but he's out as Buffalo Bills head coach. I'm a little bit surprised, House. I shouldn't be, because sooner or later you don't get over the hump. You got to do something different. But I didn't watch that game on Saturday and say, yeah, that one was on Sean McDermott.
The Ringer Gambling Show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way so you could build the best bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on the NFL playoffs all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. You have to be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the talk shows today and tomorrow into the week to go through all of that sort of big picture. Where was the relationship between McDermott and Allen, and what was management thinking? Here's the thing. The reason that the Buffalo Bills were in the situation they were in, that is to say their second playoff road game against, the number one seed, is because they lost games that they shouldn't have lost this season. And that is, in this AFC East, it's a razor thin difference between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots won two more games than the Bills and got to host both of their playoff games. The records in division, Patriots were 5-1. The Bills were 4-2. One of those losses was to the Miami Dolphins. In their conference, they had the same record. They were both 9-3. It was a very even, and New England did what it was supposed to do with its new head coach and a soft schedule. They didn't lose the games after the first three games of the season, where they lost to both the Raiders and the Steelers. Now, the Steelers were favored going into New England, I believe. But the problem is Buffalo lost to both Atlanta and to Miami, and that was the difference in the season, and that put them on the path that they were on in these playoffs. And ultimately, the lack of preparation, I think it's fair to hang on McDermott for those regular season games. Vrabel didn't have that same problem. This is overly reductionist, but also razor thin when you look at it in the context of these playoffs. And this is the reason. It is now a cumulative body of evidence with McDermott not being able to get them over the hump. And this is why I'm looking at it the way I'm looking at it today.
Well, for me, this isn't about Sean McDermott. This is about Josh Allen. Everybody says Josh Allen is the best player in the league. Our very own Bill Simmons gave him the belt over Patrick Mahomes, despite the fact that Patrick Mahomes beat him on the way to the Super Bowl. Let's go 3 straight years. It's been 3 straight years. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen have had the ball with a chance to take the lead. Go back 2 years ago. They're down 3 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen got the ball, 2 minutes to go. Yes, they get into field goal range. The field goal kicker misses it. But you got a chance to score a touchdown, you don't do it. Let's go back to last year. You're down 3, 2 minutes to go, on the road. You got a chance to cut off the king's head, knock off the throne, and become the guy. You don't even get it in field goal range. Now let's go to this year. In overtime, you got a chance to beat Bo Nix, and if you win this game, the path is clear. You're taking on the New England Patriots, who you already came back from 21 points down, and you can't do it. At the end of the day, you can say what you want to say about Sean McDermott, but Josh Allen's supposed to be the number 1 guy in the league. If you're the number 1 guy in the league, you're the top dog, you got to do top dog things. And I'm not seeing that from this dude because he had multiple fumbles, multiple interceptions. Now, you can say the last one is questionable, but the one before the half where you throw the ball backwards, I don't know what you're doing. So I can't put this on Sean McDermott at all. You look at Sean McDermott, he was 148 and he was 98 and 50 as a head coach. That's 66%. When you go to him against the spread, he brought the cash in. 77, 65, and 6, 54%. So ultimately, if the Buffalo Bills are going to get over the hump, it's going to be because Josh Allen becomes the guy that everybody says he is. And right now, he's looking more like Miguel Cotto, still a Hall of Famer, than Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao.
Listen, Raheem, I think those are fair takes. And, it's interesting. In McDermott's tenure, there were playoff games where I felt he was responsible for their shortcomings, whether it was being too conservative, whether there were certain coaching decisions I could dissect. Obviously, the game in 2021 with 13 seconds, 16 seconds, whatever it is. This game on Saturday, though, I'm right there with you. Josh Allen did not play up to the Josh Allen standard. And I know people are going to say, well, JJ, look at his roster. Look at his wide receivers. He's being asked to do more than any quarterback in the league. That may be true. But ultimately, Raheem, if you're going to go and be Superman, you got to go and be Superman. And he had chances to win the game. He failed at the end of the first half miserably. And I think the question now for an all-time great player, I think Josh Allen, Raheem, could retire tomorrow and find himself as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But I think we're kind of in this, tradition unlike any other house. I know you love that. I've been using that a lot the last few days because we hit the month of January, right? And, we're together. We do these shows every week. We do them every year. And, Raheem, I feel like we can just pinpoint on the calendar. January 15th, next day is going to be the Josh Allen funeral. We're going to be writing the Josh Allen Buffalo Bills obituary. It's a matter of when, not if, they're going to lose in the postseason. So I think you're 100% right. Allen is going to have to be the determining factor in pushing them over the hump, not necessarily a head coach. And I do want to say this on Sean McDermott. I understand the Bills deciding to make a change, Dream. I think Sean McDermott, as far as a program builder is concerned, he's going to be a head coach somewhere. You referenced how good he is against the spread. You referenced his record, which has been outstanding since he's come into the league in 2017. He's the sort of coach that could go in and build the program from the ground up, and he's the sort of coach these losing teams should go and look to hire.
And one thing I will add, I think Buffalo fired the wrong guy. Brandon Beane, the GM, is the guy who needed to go. Because if you hear a lot of talk from Buffalo fans is that the roster wasn't good enough. Well, if the roster's not good enough, that's not on Sean McDermott. That's on Brandon Beane. And you look at some of the receivers they have out there, and I know Josh Allen missed some throws, but ultimately, you got to have a number 1 guy, and they don't have a number 1 guy. So, to me, Brandon Beane is the GM. He's the one who needed to go, not Sean McDermott.
Yeah, it had to be a little bit raw watching Stefan Diggs yesterday make a catch with the very tippy tips of his hands, his fingernails, holding on to a touchdown. Had to be extra bitter. But here's the thing, fellas. You can't fire your quarterback. That's why John Harbaugh and Sean McDermott are in new situations. Harbaugh with the Giants, and we'll see what McDermott wants to do. I'd be surprised if McDermott actually jumps right back in, because as I look at the landscape of open jobs, where does Sean McDermott want to go? That's still kind of appealing. It'll be interesting. I already have
a rebuild
circled.
house, he did in Buffalo the first time.
Maybe Tennessee then, because you have at least what looks like the makings of a potential quarterback situation there. But both Pittsburgh and Baltimore could be appealing in their own way, but they're both also have hair on them. So I'll be looking as we get into regular season win totals, which I'm already looking at these schedules, who's playing who, how's it line up in 2026. I have a fade candidate right in mind right now. Don't need a head coach. Don't need to know who the head coach is. Doesn't matter. Sorry, Pittsburgh. And then we're going to see what happens with this Baltimore team.
All right, we got a long way to go before I'm looking at win totals house. As much as I love this information, as much as I love a winner, we do have games from this weekend and games that will be played coming up, shockingly, on Championship Sunday. And House, you brought up Stefan Diggs, and to me, it's the perfect transition. The upheaval now in Buffalo, and yes, it's wild. We're living in a world where Buffalo and Baltimore were Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the season, and both will be looking for new head coaches. But the path, Joe House, could not be any clearer, could not be any easier for the New England freaking Patriots. Are you kidding me? And we said it on the Ringer Sunday pregame. The winner of Patriots-Texans was going to be a significant favorite going into Championship Sunday. And you know what, Joe House? I don't regret my logic and my bravado and my confidence that I had in the Houston Texan defense. I did not have on my bingo card C.J. Stroud going full-fledged Jake Delhomme and having one of the worst playoff games I've ever seen. And don't get me wrong, I know no Nico Collins. My guy Dalton Schultz got hurt, and I thought that was a huge loss in the game because he already had a 40-plus yard reception, and he would have been a big part of the game plan. That all being said, Joe House, I don't care. You can't be as pathetic as C.J. Stroud was and live to, survive the narrative. That was an embarrassing playoff performance. And for a Houston team that's got a championship caliber defense, I don't know if I'm ready to go and give C.J. Stroud $50+ million a year. But that all being said, the Patriots couldn't be any easier. Now it's Jared Stidham. Are you kidding me?
Well, the Houston Texans should be negotiating with C.J. Stroud around how much money are we going to allocate to helping this offensive line situation and how much are we going to give you? Because what we saw beyond a reasonable doubt was the inability of C.J. Stroud left alone. I mean, I'm going to be a little bit sympathetic to Stroud and what befell the Texans coming into that game, and then the injuries that occurred over the course of that game. You just got to give it up to the defense. I mean, the only reason that game was within 2 scores in the third quarter, I thought for a minute there it was going to be a little bit of tightening up there in the third quarter for all of our friends in the greater Boston area. But no, the ultimately all of the injuries caught up to that Houston team. And again, I mean, I'm going to repeat myself. New England earned the right to host at home, and they earned the right to play the opponents that they played because they did not F around this regular season. It's totally fair to say they had an historically easy schedule and that all of their successes are attributable to that, except for they won those games. And again, that's the difference between the Bills and the Patriots. The Patriots didn't gack up any games, didn't show up unprepared for any games. Now, for sure, the Bills had a more difficult schedule, but I'm not going to kill this Texans team. They were dominant on defense. They showed up as predicted. But as Bill Simmons, he gives a lot of credit to the great Mike Lombardi. Bad offensive lines do not travel. We've seen it now 2 consecutive weeks with this New England team. The Chargers came in with a bad offensive line, couldn't get anything done. The Texans come in with a bad offensive line, couldn't get anything done, and here are the Patriots now looking at a chance to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think ultimately the Texans offense, they lost that game for them. And, even in the second half, it felt like the Texans were building some momentum. And then, they're at the 17-yard line on the Patriots down 21-13, and Woody Marks fumbles it. And you're saying to yourself, I just don't know how they can recover at this point in time. So it's unfortunate for the Houston Texans because, like I said before, I thought this team was the 2000s Ravens. All they had to do was just not turn the ball over. And, C.J. Stroud, he throws the pick when they're in Patriots territory. CJ Stroud throws the pick six. I mean, without those two plays, I think the Texans might have found a way to pull this game out. So it's unfortunate for Houston fans, but I mean, the Patriots right now, they have a clear road in front of them. And it's very interesting to see because this line is up to 5.5. And you kind of got to ask yourself, Billy Walters had this quote: if you value something at 10, you're a buyer at 8 and you're a seller at 12. At what point is this line a little bit too high? And at what point are you willing to buy on the Denver Broncos? Because we're looking at 5.5 now. And you kind of got to ask yourself, what is the adjustment from Bo Nix to Jarrett Stidham? Because a lot of us on this platform and a lot of people around the world don't think very highly of Bo Nix. So if you're not thinking very highly of Bo Nix, what are we thinking of Jarrett Stidham?
It's going to be a fascinating question that we dive into over the course of the week, and we'll have a lot more on the AFC title game that will be in Denver. Yes, the Broncos, the number 1 seed, are hosting the game. They're also going to be a monstrous underdog, and we'll see if that line climbs even higher or if it settles in, Raheem, at that 5.5 point. But before we get back to the AFC title game, we need to go back and look at the Rams and the Bears and the thriller. If you had the Bears, they died a hero. Rams Seahawks is our NFC Championship game. So when the Ringer Gambling Show returns, we will make sense of Bears Seahawks. No, we'll make sense of Seahawks Rams. Hallelujah for that. You notice what I did right there. Boys, will come right back. Welcome back. It is a Monday Ringer Gambling Show with the East Coast Bias Boys, Jastremski, Raheem, Palmer, and Joe House. And I think you guys noticed what I did there because after the Caleb Williams miracle on 4th and forever, I still don't understand, Joe House, what the Ram defender was doing on 4th down and how you could be so far out of position. But it was the miracle of Caleb Williams. I am seeing my Rams futures go up in smoke. I'm already mentally preparing for Bears, Seahawks in the NFC title game. Yet the Rams survive. Here's how I look at this, Joe House. A week ago, the Ram defense left a whole lot to be desired against the Carolina Panthers. Guess what? The Rams found a way to win. This game, in the elements of Chicago, which I have to admit, I think we all underestimated going into this game. I didn't think it would play a big role. I thought Matthew Stafford and the Rams were going to have offensive success. I thought Caleb Williams and the Bears were going to have a lot more offensive success. It was not that sort of game. It was far more low scoring. But I'm going to be glass half full here on Los Angeles. The idea that they have been able to win 2 playoff games on the road, not being at their very best, I'd make the argument that's a really good sign for them going into Championship Sunday.
I mean, yes, except for they're playing the Seahawks, who are the best team in the NFL, with the best defense in the NFL. And we've seen that this matchup. In one respect, we say thank you to the football gods for giving us the third game between the Seahawks and the Rams, because I think over the course of this season, the prevailing, point of view of these being the class of not just the NFC, but the entire NFL, we are rewarded. Thank you, football gods. Having said that, we were also rewarded with that game yesterday with the Bears doing the most Bearsiest things ever, with especially Caleb Williams. God bless him. Eagles fly high from Gonzaga College High School straight to the heart of Chicago. Caleb Williams did it one more time, and it proved to be just not quite enough. I don't blame him for the interception that he threw. It was, in fact, to your point, JJ, DJ Moore running a rounded route on a place where Caleb expected him to come off of a hard cut and come underneath. He threw it underneath. But it was, in fact, because of the weather. I mean, it really was that field. It was a rare instance where the offense did not have the advantage because of the conditions, because you saw all the receivers out there playing tippy-toe. Both quarterbacks threw 42 attempts for each. Stafford completed 20. Caleb completed 23. Not great quarterback performances because the receivers just never looked all that comfortable to me. But it was, it was fun to watch. I loved it. I loved watching the whole thing all the way through. Both of these teams, we thought that the Rams were going to lean into the run. They did. They got Kieran Williams going. Blake Corum couldn't be explosive. That's been the calling card. And ultimately, that one mistake at the end of the game was the difference, and that's it.
Yeah, watching this game, it felt like the Bears should have won this by margin. I mean, you look at the Rams. They had a 38% success rate on offense. And I don't know if any team outside of maybe the Atlanta Falcons has held this Rams team down like this. I think Dennis Allen did such a tremendous job. I don't know if it was Dennis Allen or the cold, but the Bears' defensive performance was absolutely alarming. And it's unfortunate because it felt like the Bears, that game was for the taking. Even before, the miracle 4th and 4, it just felt like you're watching the Bears and Caleb Williams is putting it on the numbers and his receivers kept dropping passes. So to me, I felt like the Bears were the better team here and they just could not get it done. I mean, ultimately, you had a couple of 4th downs earlier on that they just could not convert on, and I think that hurt them. And it's a crazy ride that the Bears went on, and I had a vested interest in a lot of it. Yesterday, I had more vested interest because, in the Ringer 107, we gave out the Bears plus 3.5.
Nicely done, Raheem. Glad I listened.
You know what they
Honestly,
say.
It ended up being the best case scenario for me and for you because I really needed to get this Ram future home for another week.
Yeah.
And we wanted to win. So I deferred to my guy. I was a good teammate and I got a good result, Raheem. So, good karma.
And you know what they say? Good teams cover, great teams win. And down the stretch, the Chicago Bears were really great for us. So I'm sad to see that ending. But, I think House hit the nail on the head. I think we got the better matchup with Rams Seahawks. Even though we already saw it twice, I think there's time for another encore. So I'm excited about that. And interestingly enough, the Seahawks have already been bet up to about 2.5 at this point in time.
Everybody loves the Seahawks. The nerds love them. The metrics, the DVOA is off the charts, off the rails, no doubt about it. Raheem, you're going to like this because for most of this year, I have been a skeptic of the Chicago Bears. And I think you hit on an excellent point. They outplayed the Rams for a good chunk of this game. Short yardage was a major storyline. The Bears struggled in short yardage. But in watching this game and getting the full-fledged Caleb Williams experience, yes, there was some missed throws. Yes, there was some drop passes. But I'm going to be thinking all offseason long, Raheem, about the throw he made on 4th down in the Green Bay game that kept their season alive. I'm going to be thinking all offseason long about the throw he made in this Ram game to keep the Bears season alive. Dream, with more harnessing, with more coaching, should we be looking to bet Caleb Williams next year to be the MVP? You thinking what I'm thinking?
Right now I'm going to say no because he has to improve his accuracy. I love Caleb Williams. He makes some, incredible plays, but I think the routine plays are where he struggles at right now. So I can see that being, a positive thing, but ultimately you got to remember when it comes to MVP, guys who win MVP, they're on a team that wins 12 to 13 to 14 games, and he's still in a tough division. And I slandered the Packers a lot this year, but ultimately we know the Packers are going to be back. I think the Minnesota Vikings, I'm not sure what they're going to do at quarterback, but they're always in a position to, challenge for that division. And then you could say the same thing about the Detroit Lions. You look at the Chicago Bears this year, they won a ton of one-score games. They had 7 or 8 comebacks. At some point, your luck does run out, and it ran out yesterday. But ultimately, I can't really make a decision on Caleb Williams for MVP until I see the number, until I see the schedule. And then ultimately, he's going to have to do a better job at making some routine plays because he's making the magnificent plays. But MVPs, they make the routine plays consistently.
Yeah, we enjoy the story this season of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and we got to watch that relationship grow from week 1 all the way through to this playoff game. And, ultimately, we reached what I think was the ceiling for this season, which is Caleb's incredible creativity, making something out of absolutely nothing. But the Bears have to get better down to down. They just have to improve, some reasonable amount in terms of your down to down success percentages. And over the course of the season, really the latter half, we saw some of that. The version of the Bears that beat the crap out of the Eagles on Black Friday, where they just ran the ball down their throat, that's sustainable. That's repeatable. They have the core pieces in place, right? They greatly improved their offensive line, and their offensive line was excellent this year. They have most of their core guys. They're pretty young, and most of them are under contract. I think the Bears are set up. I wouldn't be surprised going into this upcoming season for the Bears to be a decent sized favorite to win the NFC North. Not enormous, but I think they will be the favorite, and I think there's going to be some space between them and whoever you think will be second, probably Green Bay, because you expect everybody to come back healthy at the beginning of the season, at least for Green Bay. But I think Chicago, we saw everything we could see out of this team. They reached their apex from my perspective.
Fellas, I'm telling you, harnessing more Ben Johnson coaching, Caleb Williams can get to that MVP level. There's not a doubt in my mind. I saw enough this year. I saw enough in the postseason. The it factor is there. He's got to work. It's not going to be easy, but he can get there real quick. House, did you have a problem with Ben Johnson after the miraculous touchdown not going for two? Because knowing Ben Johnson, I thought there was a possibility he might. Now, we had a similar situation a few weeks earlier in the Packer-Bear game. They kicked the extra point. And from a talking point standpoint, I mean, if you're the Bears, it worked out, right? You deferred, you got the 3 and out. You only need a field goal to win the game. So it's tough to kill Ben Johnson on that decision. But watching it in real time, did something go through your mind and say, I'd go for 2 here?
No, not for 1 second. I just don't, when it's the playoffs and what the stakes are, what they are, and based on what they did in terms of going down the field and getting that touch, it took an absolute miracle, an 11 out of 10 miracle for them to score that touchdown. I wouldn't press it. They know for sure that they're going to have a possession unless there was a defensive touchdown, whatever. We don't need to go through the iterations, but knowing you get a possession in overtime, that's sufficient to me. I think that's the better path to choose.
Yeah, I think what Ben Johnson said in the press conference is that they struggled in short yardage situations.
And he's right about that, Raheem. They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And, they were down. I mean, you got to remember, on the previous possession, they were down to the 2 or 3 yard line and couldn't get it in.
Yeah.
And
they were 0 for 7 with 4 or fewer yards to go, and 6 of those 7 came on 3rd or 4th downs. So that's what you're talking about. 0 for 7 was the context in which he had to make that decision.
Yeah, boys are a lockstep agreement.
And when you consider how the Bears defense played Matthew Stafford, I mean, 38% success rate, 36% passing success rate. They got to stop. I mean, the opportunity was there. If DJ Moore doesn't, lollygag, and I mean, the Bears probably win that game. So I think Ben Johnson made the right decision. It just didn't go in his favor.
Coming up in this loaded East Coast bias on a Monday Ringer Gambling Show, the early look ahead, not so look ahead lines for the AFC and the NFC championship game. Can we find some value? Plus a college football championship. It's all coming up next. East Coast bias, boys, kicking it on a Monday right here on the Ringer Gambling Show. It's John Jastremski, Raheem Palmer, and Joe House. And fellas, we have the lines for the AFC and the NFC title game. Raheem, I will start with you on the AFC game because you posed the question, when will it get to a point where you find some buyback with the Denver Broncos? Because we know what the deal is. Bo Nix gets hurt at the end of the Buffalo-Denver game. Now Jared Stidham, out of nowhere. This is not a Jeff Hostetler situation where he had a couple of games under his belt. If you're old enough to know the Jeff Hostetler reference, House, I know you're proud of me for that one. You know exactly where I'm going. Well done. Nick Foles, even if you look at the Eagles, back when they won the Super Bowl, Nick Foles had a couple of games under his belt. He obviously had a lot more starting experience. Jared Stidham's basically played one game in the NFL. I mean, we have barely seen Jared Stidham in NFL action, and now all of a sudden he's going to play the game of all games trying to get the Broncos to the Super Bowl. So, Raheem, What do we make of this game, knowing New England much better on defense with Mr. Williams back in the fold? New England's offense, not great in these first two playoff games. I know Booty made some big plays. Diggs made a big play. Drake May, fumbling the ball. Turnovers have been an issue. They were in this Houston game. When do we start to see buyback on the Broncos? At 7?
I don't know if it's going to get to 7 because I think then at that point you leave yourself vulnerable to a middle. So I think we might have hit the peak of the market at this point in time. You look at Jarrett Stidham. He is 1-3 as a starting quarterback, but he's 1-1 with Denver. So I mean, you look at his numbers with Denver, he's had a 60% completion percentage, 496 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So I'm kind of looking at this as maybe you got to trust Sean Payton because we know Sean Payton's a good head coach. He's a guy who, he's able to, dial up some, incredible plays. And I still don't think that Patriots defense, I don't think it's a great defense. I think it's a good defense, but ultimately, we do have to remember that Denver does have the best home field advantage in the NFL. So, I mean, you're going from what 1.5 to like 5.5. Denver probably would have been favored. I'm just questioning at what point is this too much, and I'm not sure the answer yet. So, I mean, we still have another 6 days or so to try to figure this out. But right now, I don't think it's a good bet to take the Patriots at all.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to mess with the points, and I'm probably gonna that'll be my conviction for the week. I'll be looking to play this game in ways other than laying all those points because it's just too many unknowns. I mean, it will be the case that Peyton and Stidham, they have the benefit of not a week plus to get him ready, and it's the case that this Denver Broncos offensive line, by a handful of metrics, is the best offensive line in the NFL. A very big difference in terms of what they want to establish compared to the offensive lines that the Patriots enjoyed facing with the Chargers and the Texans. This is a radically different animal. Now, the Broncos came out and threw the ball 51 times against the Bills, and the Bills' pass defense is kind of its calling card. I have no idea what to anticipate game script wise, what makes sense. They did not try in any way, shape, or form to establish the run, the Denver Broncos, against the Bills. I don't know what to anticipate in terms of how they want to build up sustainable drives. The Patriots defense is markedly better than anything that they showed over the course of the regular season, and that's because they got healthy. Their defensive, they're getting pass rush from Chason, like incredible performance. Milton Williams, the difference between that the run defense with Milton Williams and without him is radical. But again, they played 2 of the worst offensive lines in football. The Patriots did. This is not the Broncos. All of this goes to a total that's 41.5. I look at it, my gut reaction is that's too low. And yet, what if the Broncos just want to come out and play ball control? And what have you seen from Drake May through these first 2 games that makes you think that this Patriots team can get out and score against a good Broncos defense? Not a great Broncos defense, but a good one.
And a little food for thought, fellas. Denver, New England in the postseason in Denver. It's not been a place that has treated the Patriots kindly, from the Champ Bailey, Jake Plummer playoff game back in 2005. Or I can give you Peyton Manning taking down Tom Brady once at his peak, another time with a noodle arm. And it was the 2-point play, Patriots falling short, losing by 2. So I want to keep that in the memory bank as we look ahead to this AFC title game. Now, Raheem, in the NFC, you mentioned the line going up between the Rams and the Seahawks. These teams matched up in the regular season. The line was at 1.5. Perception is maybe soured a little bit on the Rams. Seahawks soaring. You think this line will lock in at 2.5, or are we going to see even more movement?
I think it might go down, if anything. I'm at 2.5 on my model right now. For one of my models, I didn't run the other one. But I think ultimately, you're probably going to see some Rams buyback at this point in time, just because I think the quarterback pedigree is just, I mean, there's a gap there. And I think ultimately when you look at the previous games, the Rams closed 1.5. So why should this be different? So I think actually this is probably a really good teaser. I think obviously the Patriots aren't at 6. You're not really supposed to tease road favorites, but I think if I had to do anything, like I'm looking at a Rams teaser. You tease that up from 2.5 to 8.5. You tease the Patriots down, and I think you find yourself in a good position. So that's probably how I'm looking right now.
How's that, Rixie? Your love language?
He just knows how to tickle my fancy. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, that
a
is
foreplay with you guys. Oh boy, I'm gonna leave the room.
I mean, that's the 2-legger. Now I'm looking at these totals like, oh wait, what if I put a little bit of total into this also? I probably, whatever. I'm not going to mess around with too many hypotheticals right now. I do wonder, as the week sort of progresses, if we don't have any emergence of this Darnold injury nonsense, script wise, what Seattle showed us, and we need to know what's going on with Charbonnet, right? This is
that's a big loss for them, House. Excellent point. It could be. Excellent point.
And Charles Cross, like he came out, but they said he could have gone back in. He's their best offensive lineman. Need some of this stuff to shake out before we bite down too hard. But I like the script that they used against the 49ers. I just, the question is it repeatable? We know without a doubt that Seattle has a significant advantage on special teams. What can the Rams do to mitigate that? That's the conversation we'll be having all week long as we look at this number.
And we will be dissecting all of the ins and outs of the AFC and the NFC title game on the Ringer Gambling Show throughout the course of the week. But, fellas, before we bring in Anthony Dabbundo, Joe House, we have a national championship game on Monday night. And I wondered if this line would see some buyback. I went to bed last night. I'm half asleep on the couch. I'm scrolling through my FanDuel account, and those 8.5s are gone. You've gotten some Miami money coming in here. 8.5 may have been the peak of the market. Little buyback with the Hurricanes. Line now down to 7.5. What do you make of that?
I think it's sensible because of the market behavior, right? It opened at 5.5. It jetted all the way up to 8.5. We're at the moment where some buyback makes sense. And what we're describing here is just market behavior, not anything to do with, perspective on outcome in the game. I don't think. I don't have a good read on, the correct way to play this other than I did tease Indiana down many, many times last week when it was at 8.5 and have it partnered up with a bunch of things. And I have Indiana on the money line with the Rams and the Seahawks.
Oh, so okay. You threw the Seahawks in there. I got that wood. Indiana Ram bet. We got to get home here. We got to get it home, House.
Yeah, Seattle was one of my favorite plays on the money line this weekend that's completed. And my favorite bet of the week that I was giving out to pals was Seattle and the Rams money line parlay. Now, we don't really do that on our shows, so we were trying to play the individual games. But I ended up winning a little bit of money this weekend because the Seattle Rams got home. So I have that put together with Indiana, and that's the way I'm going to sit and be content with tonight's game.
And Dream, I know you can't have this line high enough for the Hoosiers, correct?
Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel. Like I refuse to just step in front of this Hoosiers train. Like I said before, Joe Burrow LSU squad. Last year, Ohio State. I refuse. And I think Sal listed the stat. We haven't seen one of these games in less than like a 9-point margin or so. So I'm not going to step in front of that train. And, if Miami wins, so be it. I think sometimes you just got to make a stand.
Fellas, when we come back, he's waiting patiently. He's not in the green room. He's actually like right next to me. Anthony Dabbundo, 3 and out. All sorts of good stuff coming up next. The Ringer Gambling Show is brought to you by FanDuel. This is it. 1 game left, 1 team crowned champion, and 1 last chance for you to boost your shot at a big win. The college football championship is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers a final profit boost for the final game day. That means 1 more chance to level up your picks and turn big moments into even bigger wins. So look, I need Indiana to win this game. I survived barely with the Rams on the money line. Signetti, Mendoza, bring it home for me, baby. It's even money. I want to go into Championship Sunday a winner. Hoosiers, not getting cute. Just take them, tease them with something you like on Championship Sunday. Visit FanDuel.com/gamblers to get your college football playoff boost today. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. The home stretch of a Monday Ringer Gambling Show. The East Coast Bias Boys, John Jastremski, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, and we are joined in studio. I just can't quit Anthony Dabbundo. By the way, are you looking to get a sublet in my apartment? Are you looking to stay the next time you come to New York?
I'm going to have to establish residency.
Boot my 8-month-old daughter out. I'll get you a cot, and then you're good to go.
Or
you sleep on a couch.
A couch, and I'll be good.
Well, it's a pleasure
Maybe
to
one
see.
pillow.
It's a pleasure to see you. I'm glad the TV situation worked out on Saturday night. Hopefully you didn't have such problems on Sunday, and you join us for 3 and Out. So I don't want to bogart any longer. Take it away, good sir.
I don't think the Bills should hire an offensive-minded coach. And we were just talking about this off air. When you have Josh Allen, your offense is pretty much baseline to be pretty close to top 5. Maybe get one good receiver at some point in the next couple of years. But I think their offense is pretty high floor. And really, when we look at what's let Buffalo down, yes, Josh Allen has come up small and been a little careless in some of these situations, late in games, as Raheem mentioned earlier. But Sean McDermott's inability to scheme up defenses that can get stops against Patrick Mahomes, against Joe Burrow, and even on Saturday against Bo Nix and the Broncos late in that game has been a major part of this. They are not a good defensive team when they play quality opponents. Their defense has been schemed in a way that has led to feasting on bad teams and wilting against good ones. And so the name that I would put at the top of the board is Jesse Minter. I think he should be the first name on the list for Buffalo when they're doing their interviews. Find your defensive guy. Say, you know what? He'll take care of the defensive side. Josh will take care of the offensive side. We know, whether it was Brian Daboll or Joe Brady, that the offense is going to be good enough. And that's what they really need to figure out. And honestly, kind of surprised Bean kept his job just because we've seen this roster wilt in a way. 3 years ago, the roster was so much more talented than it is now. And I think they've struggled with the draft. They've missed on some free agents. They've had some injury issues. But I would go defense first if I were Buffalo.
Listen, I think that's a fair, nuanced take. Now, House, if you want to sell me on the idea of a relationship, and I know Brian Daboll's tenure with the New York Giants was not anything to write home about these last few years, but if Josh Allen is making the call and he goes, hey, this is the guy that cultivated me, that grew me, I want him leading this team, Josh Allen is going to have say in that. But I'm totally okay with the idea of saying, hey, guess what? Josh Allen is your offense. He is going to make your offense be magical. Go and get the defensive guy that's going to go and take your team over the top. I think that's a very nuanced take. I really do.
I totally agree with it. And honestly, I wouldn't mind Daboll as the head coach, but who's the defensive coordinator? Flores is out there interviewing. Can the personnel that the Bills currently have run a Flores blitz-heavy kind of a defensive scheme? They have to do something to improve. They have a bunch of vets. They've been, doing this retread thing to Mr. Dabbundo's point over the last 3 years, and every year we're looking at Matt Milano. We're looking at guys like Jordan Poyer, guys that can't stay on the football field, letting down this defense. So I agree the emphasis should be defense. How they get there, it's going to be exciting to see.
Sean McDermott, a difference-making head coach for these rebuilding programs? Because, look, the narrative around him is he didn't get the team over the top. I've been very critical of McDermott. There have been plenty of years, Dabbundo, I have called for his firings when we sit here on these January Mondays discussing the end for the Buffalo Bills. I didn't necessarily feel that way after watching the game on Saturday. It wasn't a Sean McDermott problem game for me. I look at the job he did in Buffalo, though. I think a lot of people forget this. He took over a team that had the longest playoff win drought in forever. He got there with Tyrod Taylor. He was there for the beginning of Josh Allen. Like, if I'm one of these rebuilding programs, an Arizona, a Tennessee, a Dolphins, you give me the team, I think Sean McDermott would be a really good coach to hire.
It's the same question we just had about John Harbaugh, though, right? where we say, okay, we have a coach that has an established identity of success at a certain point in the NFL where he has gotten and some benefit of the fact that, yes, Josh Allen came in, but you're right, they were better beforehand. I think, and I still think this, I'm still going younger. If I'm one of those
You
teams,
want young guys.
if
Okay.
I'm one of those, Titan type teams or Raider type teams, I still think I'm taking a swing on somebody who's less of a known commodity. And I know it's riskier and you may end up, in a destitute situation, but in the NFL, you're never really that far away from contending again. We have seen these turnaround stories so fast where, yes, a team is a disaster for 3 or 4 years, but then they get the right coach or the right quarterback in there and they turn it around. I would still look to go younger. Not trying to be ageist. I know maybe I'm sounding a little ageist saying like, no Harbaugh, no to McDermott. Maybe I just have too much scar tissue watching these guys make mistakes in big moments in playoff games. But I would go younger. Maybe it's a Shula. Maybe it's a Minter. The Rams guy, Skielhaas, that's getting a lot of buzz. The passing game coordinator for the Rams under the McVay tree.
His Jaguar offensive coordinator is like 29 years old and interviewing for jobs, including Cleveland.
Udinski, yeah. So I think there's a lot of young up and coming schemers and talent guys, and you're looking for like who's the next Ben Johnson, essentially, right?
House, it's amazing. I feel like I was the young guy forever, and now I'm evolving into old guy stature and status, and I'm starting to sympathize with the old guys. Isn't it crazy?
Why are you putting that question to me? Why are you asking me that question? I don't understand this. What
you still look great. I love you. I think it's like fine wine. I don't mind the old coach if they're successful. Like John Harbaugh could have coached my team in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, they didn't get John Harbaugh.
Who's your team going to get? Who do you want? Give me the top 3.
I'll tell you who they're going to hire. They're going to hire Jeff Hafley, and it's going to be incredibly uninspiring, and I think he's going to get fired in 3 years.
Jeff Hafley, really?
That's who I think is the next Dolphin head coach.
All right.
And it does not excite me at all.
I wouldn't excite me either.
No, it's boring. All right, take 2.
Take 2 is you're going to like this one, JJ.
I always like your takes.
I pulled up a stat.
Please.
There are 52 quarterbacks that have played at least 100 playoff snaps since 2001.
Okay. 50 playoff quarterbacks.
Yep, 52.
100 snaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guess where CJ Stroud ranks in EPA per dropback in now his 5 playoff starts here?
52 quarterbacks, right?
Yeah. Sorry, 6 playoff starts.
45.
You guys want to guess? House, Raheem?
I just was going to say bottom 5. What are you going to say, Dream?
Yeah, he is bottom 5.
You said out of all qualifying playoff quarterbacks all
52
time,
of
or
them.
52.
In this century.
This century.
I'm gonna say 49.
48.
Wow. 45 is a good guess, though.
And 51st is your guy Herbert.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow. Not a good stat for the truthers, by the way.
No. And at some point we have to kind of acknowledge that CJ Stroud has played one really good playoff game.
And it was his first one.
His first one against that Cleveland defense at home. And since then, when the pressure has come, Baltimore, remember that second half was really bad. But you know what? It's okay. He's a rookie. They'd overachieved at that point. Last year.
You're playing the Chiefs. You'll get a pass.
Right.
You
really
won a playoff
struggled in that
game
game, though. A lot of sacks.
before.
And then this year, he stopped taking the sacks and started just throwing it up. See what happens. Oh, man, I got hit. He throw. I mean, it was really tough to watch. And I think if you're the Houston situation, if you're the franchise right now, and you've just gone through multiple offensive coordinators, you've had 3 years of this Stroud experiment. At no point in the last 2 years has the offense been effective consistently. Where do you go with CJ Stroud in year 4?
Well,
what do you do with this team?
I'm glad you brought this up to me. Fellas, as someone that just saw their team go and pay an average quarterback crazy, crazy money, the biggest mistake the Texans could make is go and give $50+ million a year to CJ Stroud. Let him go and play out the 5th-year option. That's what I would do. Go prove it. Go have a Joe Flacco year, right? Mm-hmm. Where that defense is great. You'll probably be back in the playoffs. Go win multiple playoff games, then I'll give you that contract. There's no way I'm extending CJ Stroud. No way.
It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch their offense most of the season.
I'm not so sure. I think we have to just tap the brakes for a second here because they've had one of the worst offensive lines for 2 consecutive years now. And that team, when they had Joe Mixon, when they had Tank Dell, when they had weapons, we're trying to measure them based on playoff performance, but they haven't showed up with the version of the team that they imagine on the offensive side of the ball. We haven't seen it yet. So I think it's a tiny bit unfair to be, trying to use.
So I get that, House, but you
prism.
want to go give him $50+ million a year is the question.
No, I would do what you're recommending. Let him play it out. Well, let's see. They can sign him at any point in this fifth year up to a certain sort of deadline. They need an offensive line. Let's let them go get an offensive line and show up in September with a genuine, approach that gives him a chance.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But it feels like they signed some guys this year. And I don't know if it's the scheme. I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator, but it just feels like everything that they try to do, from replacing offensive coordinators to signing guys on the offensive line, and it's just not working. So I think DeMeco Ryans has to figure out something. I don't know what that is, whether it's just, this is the second offensive coordinator they've had in the last 2 years. So they got to figure out something.
Take three.
Yeah, funny you should mention it. I'm really fascinated by the fact that Bobby Slowick is now getting called back again. I mean, that guy was written off by everybody.
I mean, he was basically hanging out, having zins with Mike McDaniel this season.
Right.
In a relevant role with the Dolphins.
And now everybody has watched Stroud struggle this year. The new OC comes in. They're not very good. And everybody's like, wait a second. Maybe Slowick wasn't the problem after all. I'm still not convinced that was true because he ran the ball way too much. But we'll see. It's interesting. Third take. Are we sure? What would the line have been if Bo Nix didn't get hurt? Denver minus 1.5?
Yes. Denver minus 1.5.
Are we sure that Jarrett Stidham is 6 points worse than Bo Nix? I know we got Nick Foles tweeting about playing against the Patriots as a backup quarterback. I don't know in that offense, which is one of the most QB-friendly offenses you could possibly design, that Jarrett Stidham is actually 6 points worse. And that means, unfortunately, I am going to have to bet.
We're all going to bet Denver. And we're all going to hate ourselves for doing it. I'm just telling you right now. I already can see the future. Save the clip. We're all going to bet Denver. I'm going to talk myself into Jarrett Stidham, and I'm going to watch him for a quarter and a half, hate my life. That's what's going to happen, Raheem. I'm telling you right now.
Honestly, this is the Cousin Sal special. Not the Steelers special, not the Bears special, but this is the Cousin Sal NBA special, to where you play alternates on both sides. Denver wins this by 3, or the Patriots blow them out.
I'm with it. Best bets. We got to be real quick before we say goodbye. Joe House, I'm giving you the 4.
We're going to do a 3-way parlay. We're going to play Seattle, New England, and Indiana on the money line parlay. A little better than 2-1 right there.
I can't say I'm rooting for that because I do not want to see Seattle and New England in the Super Bowl. No thanks for that. But hey, if you win money, you win money. Raheem, best bets.
Boston Celtics +3 on money line. Bucks Hawks over 232.5 starts in 1 minute. Over 231.5. Clippers Wizards over 225.5, and Jazz Spurs over 241.5. It's MLK Day. I got to give you a lot.
Let's do it. Dabbundo, anything for us?
A little down under action on the Bobby.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, Ugo Humbert +152 to upset second top ranked American Ben Shelton. Should be a good one tonight. First matchup in the tournament. Most exciting matchup in the first round of the tournament.
I am not getting in the way of this Indiana Hoosier freight train. I am laying the 7.5. I am bringing home my parlay with the Hoosiers and the Los Angeles Rams. We had a sweat. You know what? Nobody cares if you sweat. You only care if you win. Let's bring it home. For Anthony Dabbundo, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski signing off. Enjoy your Monday. Happy MLK Day. Be good, everybody.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York.